subject to facility management. That's it.
Okay. Please, where do you work?
I work in Brinton Hammers Facility Management Limited. It's a facility firm. Yeah.
Okay.
But I'm an accountant.
Thank you. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
So maybe when we speak about the financial implication of an accident, maybe it will make more sense to you. So maybe when we talk about the reasons why we need to prevent accident from happening, and we look at the cost, and we look at the implication on the employer and the employee, then maybe it will maybe it will make more sense to you. No problem. Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Can you please meet yourself? Kingsley? Mr. Kingsley, please. Kingsley Kazan. Are you there? Mr. Kingsley, can you please unmute yourself? Okay, yes. You have the floor, please.
Hello, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now.
Okay, my name is Kingsley Kazan. I worked for Modex and KHNL group of company. I'm a facility manager. What I would like to learn in this class, I would like to know more about health and safety in workplace, so that I can be able to create an enabling environment for my guests and, of course, my fellow colleagues. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So you want to create safe environment or workplace for your visitors and even for your employees. Okay. All right. Well noted. Muritala Osiafi. Mr. Muritala, please. Muritala Osiafi. Can you unmute yourself? Okay. Ngozi Okechukwu. Are you there? Ngozi Okechukwu. Wow. Okay. Muritala Osiafi, are you there now? Please unmute yourself. We can hear you. Okay. Olayemi Kasali, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Please unmute yourself and let's meet you.
Okay. Yeah, good evening, sir. My name is Olayemi Kasali. I'm a facility manager. I presently manage a master place in VI here. I expect at the end of this class to be able to further understand the principles and the methods of health and safety in built environment, and then how to prevent, how to mitigate or prevent totally accidents, and then what to put in place to ensure that we don't come close to even a near miss in the building. Thank you very much, sir.
Oh, thank you. I smell when I say we don't come close to a near miss. And so one, that shows that you have a bit of health and safety understanding. And two, then that leads me to asking us if zero is possible, if zero accidents is possible. Or we'll get into that. We'll get into that, and that will be a very interesting discussion. Thank you so much, Mr. Layemi. I think time is fast spent, but I think I can just into this. Sorry, Peter Lawa. Peter Lawa, are you there? Mr. Peter. Oh no. I can hear you. What's this background noise is there? Okay, tell me, Mr. Peter Lawa. So your name, what you do, and what you want to take out of this class.
Okay, my name is Peter Lawal. I'm a junior solar engineer.
Yeah, what? Say again.
What I to get from this, a junior solar engineer.
Okay, a solar engineer. Don't put the junior. Just tell me solar engineer. Okay. Yeah, renewable. Yeah.
All right. So what I hope to get from this class is it's almost what I intend to get from facility management as well. The idea of health safety, which is something that a lot of people in my field take for granted, considering they feel, okay, once you're a professional, those things will happen. Like, so they tend to take it for granted.
Okay, so can I quickly just ask you one or two questions, Mr. Peter? So do you, as a solar engineer, do you go to field? Do you actually go to field? Do you do maybe roof mounting for solar panels?
Yes.
Okay, so do you also have to install the inverters, your controllers, and loop them into the grid?
Yes.
Okay, so water tight, electrician or electrical safety will be very applicable. So just pay attention in under 2.5 hours. We should treat that. All right. Okay.
All right.
Thank you. All right. Power Ranji. Thank you. You can go meet, please. Power Ranji, are you there? Sorry, I'm using the name you logged on with. So I'm sorry if you are not a pa and and I'm almost calling you a papa. It's actually the name you signed in with. Okay, I think it's not there. Okay, Princess Onuwaje. Princess Onuwaje. I think he's still in the palace. Your Royal Highness. Okay, Ramoni Akim. Mr. Ramoni. Okay, Mr. Sakiru Shubanke. Are you there? Please unmute yourself. Mr. Sakiru Shubanke.
Hello.
Hello, boss.
Hello.
Hello.
Okay, so so I can see two people. So Mr. Ramoni, go first. Then after Mr. Ramoni, then Mr. Shakiru can go. Okay.
Okay. Yeah. My name is Ramoni Akin. I'm an essay surveyor. I work with Juliet Aramco. And the right intention, what I intend to teach from today's class. I really want to know about the health and safety measure that need to be put in place in all office in the workplace, as well as site and all other stages of operations that facility managers are involved.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Mr. Shakiru, can you please take over?
Okay, good afternoon.
Or is it Sakiru?
Yes, Shakiru. Good afternoon, sir.
Oh, okay. Afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. My name is Shubanke Shakiru. I'm a regional facility coordinator in one of the GSM telecommunications in Nigeria. What I want to learn today is why the conflict and resolution between HSC staff and engineers or project coordinator in the project team. How can we resolve the conflict? What are the reasons for the conflict?
Why are we not having smooth or good collaboration between HSC and project and
project managers?
So so what you're actually asking essentially is who owns the KPI? So if we have the 0 accident target on site, where does it sit? So most times the HSC guys feel it sits with them. And so the engineer, I'm an engineer, I'm a mechanic, I'm a foreign registered engineer for crying out loud. So the engineers actually feel like it's the HSC's baby. So they can do anyhow. And so that So there's no emotional intelligence. So, but I'll get to answer that question in the main class, where we talk about setting the targets, setting the KPIs, who takes ownership. So until ownership is clearly or the KPI is clearly defined, so who is accountable, who is responsible, then there will be that conflict. I used to work as safety manager for MBC, for Coca-Cola, as at July 2018, before I left. And the truth of the matter is, even the production managers and the engineering managers will feel, oh, it's the health and safety department that owns this that KPI. So what you are actually asking essentially is, how can we synergize? How can we improve the working together between HSC guys, and not just engineers, also even facility managers. So in places where you have FM and you have the HSC guy, at times there is conflict. So what do we need to do? So I think we're going to address that in this class.
They see HSC as if they are witch hunting them.
Yeah, so HSC also need to move away from policing. So we need to, so I'm sorry if there's any police on this call. If there's any police man or policewoman on this call. So we need to move HSC from that point of policing, where you need to say, wear your shoe, to the point of what we call ownership. So we need to move from reactive HSC into interdependency, where people believe that their safety is in their hands. They have to behave responsibly. People believe that the zero target is achievable, and it depends on them as an individual, where everybody believes that if it is not safe, don't do it, and don't let others do it. It's not about Kolako saying don't do it. It's about you looking at the job and saying, I'm sorry, this is not safe. I need to put in extra measures. But the truth matter is, if we don't have the right education, then enforcement becomes the order of the day. So we're gonna speak a bit around that, and maybe speak around BBS, the behavioral-based safety. I hope the time will permit, because the slides are actually long. Oh, thank you, Mr. Shakir. Thank you so much. Okay, I think I just need to take one or two people, and then I need to. Some people came late, really, but I know I've seen Tracy Jaja and Theodora Okafor. So please, the two madams, can you unmute yourself? And so maybe Theodora Okafor goes first. What do you do?
Okay.
Yeah.
Good evening. My name is Theodora Okafor, and I work with the Standards Organization of Nigeria. I'm the technical secretary to the National Mirror Committee that adopted the standards that domesticated the international standards for facility management in Nigeria. And in my organization, we're trying to adopt the facility management procedures for management of our facilities. And so I'm here to get as much as I can get from every area of facility management to be able to kickstart it for my organization. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I look forward to getting a very strong feedback from you at the end of this class. Why I'm asking those questions, so we know the expectations of everyone, and not just assume that we're all here to to manage HSC in our workplace. Thank you so much, Madam. So Madam Tracy, can you please unmute yourself? Then I just jump into the class. Madam Tracy, are you there?
Sorry, I'm with a client right now. I'm still at work.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, no problem at all. Thank you. Okay, so next slide, please. So this course is about or around health and safety management in the workplace. So clearly, we want to understand what being healthy or the well-being means, and what safety means, and see what can actually prevent us from having the right atmosphere, the right work environment that would sustain occupational health and safety. Underline the word occupational because it's a bit different from process safety. Not even a bit, exactly different from process safety. So, so underline the word occupational. So we want to see what prevents people from going to work and coming back safely, and what we need to do around that. So we run through this. We look at the ILO standard, ILO definition of occupational health, so that we can actually incorporate the part of mental health, which is about your well-being. A bit we talk about what the 17 goals have said and what well-being really means, and we can then push forward to see, okay, what are those things that can actually cause an incident or accident? How do they occur, and what can we do? And so we can then bury that into facility management. And again, maybe we need to just speak around fire safety, which is one of the worst consequence, that could actually bring down a facility. And then we can then wrap up the date. Next slide, please. Next, can you just go forward? Yes. Okay, so being healthy is not just a state of, being well. Or let me say it this way: being healthy is not a situation where you're not feeling sick. That's not health. So when you ask some people, are they feeling healthy, or they feel, oh, I'm not down with malaria, I'm not injured, then I'm healthy? That is not health. The WHO said that is the state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being, and not just mere absence of disease, injury, or infirmity. So when the health we're looking at here is the all-round soundness of our body, and not just the physical body, but also the mental body, the mental health. So in the course of this class, we'll be looking at things that can distort the well-being, mental well-being, physical well-being, and even social well-being. So social is around interaction, around mixing up with other people. So we say it's psychosocial. So it's not just your mental, which is psychology, which is psychopaths, but also the social part. So your psychosocial balance is as important as your physiological balance, which is around the physical well-being. Okay, so we then say that health is, I'll start with, in the facility now, the provision of ventilation, lighting, hygiene facilities, even the arrangement of the workplace can actually lead, can actually result in some unwanted or uncreated for fatigue that we will then need to manage. Then, of course, there are some obvious hazards in the workplace, things that can cause harm. For instance, you're dealing with chemical, maybe in your water treatment plant, maybe the chlorine or water treatment. That is actually going to affect your respiratory, and even so maybe your respiratory system, and of course, when it comes in contact with your body, then that could even lead to some irritation, depending on even the chemical that we're talking about. In some facilities, they even use maybe acid, maybe to neutralize maybe the sewage system or something. We need to know what these substances you're using can cause and what you need to do. So in all, lack of control over hazards actually constitutes over 95% of accident causes. Let me say it another way. Everything except the act of God can be controlled. Accidents don't just happen. Most times they are caused. At times, they are even caused by the way we respond to those triggers. And that's what we're talking about, stress. We get it. So accidents don't just happen, or damage to our body, our system don't just happen, whether it's the psychosocial or the physiological system. it doesn't just happen. It's most times the way we undo or the way we act and or the way we respond to what has happened. We've seen or we've heard people go into extreme shock. People that have maybe even underlying factors like high blood pressure, that's the cardiovascular disease, related ailments like BP, like diabetes, and they go into sudden shock. We've seen people that are actually asthmatic and they suddenly inhale maybe chemical fumes, and that causes a trigger, and the way they then manage that could result in a loss or lack of loss. Let me say that occupational health that we're talking about now has to do with promotion and maintenance of the highest possible degree of our physiological and psychosocial well-being. Of course, we're also workers, you know, so in at our place of work, and we need to ensure that we do everything, you know, reasonably practicable to reduce the likelihood and or the severity of ill health. So air quality, the way we handle chemicals, our experience about our biological hazards, noise and vibration, stress, you know, the way we move things around or carry load, all these things matter. Next slide, please. I'm sorry, I couldn't log in with my system. So I have to actually, you know, go through this via my phone, and that's why someone needs to, you know, maybe manage the screen for me. Okay. So looking at the picture, so if you are using your mobile phone also, you can actually zoom in and out to actually see the pictures properly. If you're on your system, you know, you can actually also, you know, either zoom in or zoom out, you know, so for you to see these images properly. And it's around the definition now. Yes, where the cursor is. What is an hazard? What is a risk? Somebody mentioned near miss. Then what is a near miss? And what is an accident? Quickly answered. An hazard is anything that can cause harm, injury, or ill health to someone. I use the word anything. Anything. Be it condition, situation, action, anything that can actually cause harm is an hazard. What is a risk? The risk is that probability of occurrence of the hazard. I say again, the risk is the likelihood of an hazard or of something that can cause harm actually causing harm. The risk is the likelihood of an event resulting in a situation or in a consequence. So if a 16-year-old boy that is not trained on how to drive, you know, picks up his father's vehicle and start driving, what I will ask you is that, what is the risk of an accident? What is the likelihood that that guy will be involved in an accident? So what risk means is that, oh, there is a possibility. But in health and safety, we call it probability. So there is it's probable. So there is a likelihood, there is a chance, you know, of an accident happening. Why? Because the guy, not because the guy is an underage, well, which is also a factor though, but because the guy is not trained. So it's not just about the experience. It's not just about the training. Let me give it to you here. It's also about the mindset. It's also about the state of mind of that person at the time he or she is operating either the equipment or carrying out the job or the task that is being done. Am I in class? Are we together? Can you hear me?
Yes,
If you can hear me, say
we
yes.
can hear you.
Okay, what is a near miss? So why are we differentiating a near miss from an accident? Okay, so in some school of thought, we call something incidents. Incident is different from accidents. Incident is the likelihood that an event will result in a consequence or not result in that consequence. Let me say it in another way. An incident is the probability that an event, that a situation, a condition, or an action will or will not result in a consequence. That means when we talk of incidents, we're saying there could be a loss and the loss may not happen. That is an incident. So if there is a loss, meaning that there's a consequence, meaning that if something happened and there is a damage. Damage to what? There are 4 broad categories we classify this damage to. It could be to the people, to assets, to environment, or to your brand, the reputation of the company. So as an FM, you are in charge of the facility. Do you want your company to have a brand or reputational issue? Do you want your facility to be seen as a place where people die? Do you want us to come for an interview and would then be like, please, what is your HSC statistics? Meaning that what have you documented? What have you recorded in the last, say, 2 years? Do you want the enforcement agencies, if you're in Lagos, so maybe Lagos State Safety Commission, maybe the police, maybe now for safety issues now, maybe the Federal Ministry of Labor and Productivity, maybe the Ministry of Health. Do you want them to come and say, oh, you guys don't have good restroom? So probability of having a communicable disease is high in this place, shut it down. Do you want to have reputational risks? Those are the questions. So an incident is then saying, oh, there could be that outcome, and maybe the outcome will not happen. If the outcome does not happen, what you have is a near miss. So a near miss is an event that has occurred or happened. So something has actually happened, but did not result in a loss or in a damage. An accident is just the opposite, is an event that has occurred, but resulted in a loss. And I said that loss can be classified under 4 buckets, 4 categories of people, environment, assets, and reputation. If you ask me, there's also even another part now for the security in Nigeria as of today. We got a travel advice saying, oh, don't go to the north. So I'm supposed to be in Kaduna tomorrow, and the security department in my office did not clear us. So I was supposed to travel with some of my bosses, and we're not cleared. It was on the and it is for an important engagement, and it's on the condition of the clients providing not police now, military escorts. So now, if I won't even go with military escorts, because then the chance of being attacked, maybe for me as I think, has been increased. So if I go with military escort, then that means we could be shot at. When those guys are trying to maybe attack the military formation. So we're saying that as a facility manager in Nigeria of today, as against the usual 4 buckets or 4 headers that we have, which is the people, environment, asset, and reputation, we've added the S, which is about security. Do you want to run a facility where a suicide bomber will just come in, plant a bomb? It may not even be a suicide bomber. But if it's a suicide bomber, then the guy has to ensure that he explode, or the bomb, it triggered the explosive when he was there. Do you want to have a situation where somebody just come and plants a bomb, within your facility and leave, and nobody picks that? I use the word pick. We don't want you to pick that. We want you to prevent that from happening. So we want to move from being reactive. Oh, we've seen a strange black nylon or we need to call the police headquarters in Yaba. Maybe they send the maybe explosive experts to come and detonate the bomb. We don't want to detonate any bomb. We want to ensure that there is even a barrier that prevents the bomb from even dropping, from even being planted in the facility. Then what is safety? I think we can then understand what safety is now. Safety is freedom from an accident, which is or risk of danger, and it's always associated with injury or fatality. Hear this. When we're talking about operational health, I didn't major on injury. Yes, if you are injured, you are not healthy. But we have seen that injury, disability, infirmity, disease, are not just the metrics that we need to measure, we need to look out for under operational health. There could be psychological imbalance when somebody is running ment, or should I use the word mental? When somebody has, it could be due to what the person is passing through, which could be work related. So we're not even looking at people's personal life now. We're looking at what can actually happen in the workplace. And I give it to you back. As the facility manager, what are those things you are doing that could trigger ill health in people? What are those, what's that management style? What's that push for results? How are you doing that? COVID-19 is enough stress. In fact, we're supposed to be given certificate of survivor as against maybe vaccine. Maybe if you don't have COVID-19, collect certificate that you survived COVID-19. Of course, eventually when it ends. So I'm saying that COVID-19 is enough stress. Some of us were never used to sitting at home. And I can tell you that I've not gone to the office this week. Of course, I've delivered a lot of things this week. I've not even gone to the office this week. Sitting at home, working from home. When we started this class, I don't know if you guys had backgrounds and everything. And I needed to move away from where my kids are, just to be somewhere else that is maybe a bit more quiet. So working from home is enough mental distortion. Being isolated from other workers or colleagues is enough problem. You want to do something, and on a very good day, you'd have just asked maybe a colleague to help you out. Maybe you're not sure of the process, but now you need to figure it out, or reach out, make calls, and what have you, which we are not used to, and this would have impacted our health. What we are then saying is that management of occupational health, has to do with you ensuring that those things that can cause harm to you are well identified and taken care of. But what you don't know, what you have not identified, you can't measure. The ill health can be acute, so it could be short-term, or it could be chronic, which is long-term. Some things will happen to you now. So imagine you sustain an injury, or imagine you have malaria. You will know almost within a week. And if you go to the clinic or to an hospital, they give you the drugs and you are fine. Even if there is, so the malaria could actually be maybe a function of where you work. So it depends on what you do. Some people, I know some people are on shift, so you need to actually work maybe from 6 p.m. to 6 a.m. or 9 p.m. to following day, and your drainages are clogged at work, so there is waterlog. So the mosquito level actually breeding on the water body, stagnant water body, and what have you. And at the end of the day, you fall sick. So that's where fumigation and what the other things, I do. I won't mention the university, but there's actually a university in Ekiti State. I think is it University of Polytechnic? Not too sure now. So but there's an institution, there's a tertiary institution in Ekiti State that the governor of that state, Governor Fayemi, actually suspended either the rector or the registrar or someone last week because 100 people after a fumigation exercise. So my question is, what's the rector's business with fumigation? When you've got maybe in university setting, when you've got the director of public works that should actually go home, or maybe the fumigation exercise. So was it that student hostels were fumigated, or did they actually use the wrong chemicals? So what's the rector's business? Had to go home. On suspension, these and what have we identified with the chemicals, with the competence of the people doing that, and of course, with the timing. So I've seen where people insist that, oh no, this have to be done because it's just the right time, it's due. So I've worked in a place where someone tells me, oh, fumigation. So fumigation is due and has to be done. Yes, but there must be collaboration. And HSC guy cannot come and say, oh, yes, he needs to fumigate. I'm not arguing. There's no argument about that. He needs to fumigate. But he can't fumigate when the site is active or when the facility. So it has to be a planned shutdown. So we're going to fumigate, say, at 9 p.m. Then that means we need to actually stop production at maybe 8 p.m. so people can actually go home. And we know that night shift is not going to produce anything. You can't fumigate when there is a planned production. And just because you want to meet your own KPI. FMs, you can't afford to do that. If you do that, then there will be pushback and kickback. Then that lack of synergy or cooperation will then exist. Next slide, please. Okay, just hold on here. So how does chemical get into the body? 4 ways: inhalation, injection, ingestion, and absorption, skin absorption. So inhalation, you breathe in the chemical fumes. So we're saying now that if you undo chemical fumes, please, and so it always comes with what we call the shock card, the safe handling of chemicals card, the safety card. Okay, or better still, should I say it comes with like a COSH. So there is a control of substances hazardous to health. There is a COSH statement. Details or precautions that need to be taken while handling those chemicals. In fact, for some chemicals, you need to know how they are being stored. If you have someone supplying chlorine chemical or any other chemical to you, please, can you ask that person for the shock card? Shock is spelled SHOC, safe handling of chemicals. Is an abbreviation. So can you ask for shock card? Or better still, ask for the MSDS. Some people call it SDS. So MSDS means material safety data sheet, or simply called safety data sheet. Can you ask for the safety data sheet of that chemical that's being supplied to you? Sir, if somebody is not going to give you that document, can you just change your supplier? Most of the incidents we have, or most of the issues we have in facilities are actually due to the supply chain procurement process. I don't care what or who the supplier has been over the years. If he or she cannot conform to doing the right thing, then we need to change that person. Okay, so not to change that person, can we then upgrade the person with useful information? Maybe the person does not even know what the MSDS is, or the material safety data sheet is. You can always look up for this information online. You need the material data sheets for chemicals and the stock card or the shock leaflet or details, whatever it is. So they will send that to you. What MSD is how to undo the use of that chemical and how to respond in case of emergency. Those two things are very key. How do you use this chemical? I mean, so do you pour acid? You need to know which one comes first. You need to know what irritative is it? Well, again, is it acidic? There and then you then know what to do, which is the, or should I just go to the hospital with maybe a skin balm? Those things will have been stated in the MSDS. Inhalation, you breathe in. Absorption through the skin or eyes, or even, so in inhalation, you inhale through your nose. Absorption through your skin or eyes. Ingestion through food. So when we tell people, wash your hand before you eat, or don't bring food to a chemical lab, some people will feel, oh, this guy I just been, insensitive. I'm working as a lab assistant, so they want me to actually stand up, wash my hand, go to the eating area before I can eat my food. I've not eaten since morning. What's all this? Please, let's walk the talk. You tell them, maybe during your town hall meeting, you paste the sign on the wall in the lab, and then you discipline who does not comply or who does not want to comply. Okay, then injection, of course, use of needle and syringe. Okay? And we said this health hazard could also be chemical, physical, ecologically induced, which is stress induced, and could be biological. Next slide, please. Okay, so we can actually read this up. I was just talking about what that chemical would do. Let's go back to the previous slide. What the chemical would do? Is it toxic? Is it irritative? Is it carcinogenous? Is it sensitive? Please, we can just read this up, and that'll be fine. Next slide. Then the question now is, from my explanation so far, who should be involved in health and safety in the workplace? It should be everyone. Everyone. The employer, the employee, the supplier, the contractor, even government agencies, everyone and anyone should be involved in health and safety. The employer must. So the International Labour Organization Convention 165, if I'm correct, Convention 165, Recommendation 167, told us that the employer should actually provide a safe workplace for the employee. The OSHA clause told us that the employer should provide safe, not just workplace, but also even machinery and equipment for the employees. The word safe workplace is very key. Your workplace must be safe. But what health and safety profession has discovered is that a safe workplace does not make a safe situation or a safe operation. That the workplace is safe does not mean that the operation is safe. So somebody is wondering that, what's this one saying? That your facility is safe does not mean that at the end of the day, there will be no accidents. Why? Because there is the element of people interaction. An object will remain static unless and except it is actioned upon by an external force. If you build, okay, so within your building, if you put a machinery somewhere, that machine will remain in that same location unless somebody or something, external force, move it away from that spot. That facility will be what it is without any accident or incident if people do not interact with it, the people elements. But because we have people that need to come in, do some work, leave, then there is the people element to safe operation. So let me marry those two. Facility, safe facility, which now I assume include the machinery, the structures and everything. Safe facility plus safe thinking people or plus safe people equals safe workplace. So health and safety in the workplace, we'll be looking at it from the angle of the facility itself and from the people working or interacting or interfacing with the facility. So health and safety is essentially a working partnership. Everyone needs to work together. Employees need to follow the rules. They need to abide with the code of conduct. They need to follow what we call the SOP, standard operating procedure. They need to understand what the risk assessment is. So they need to know what the danger is and how they can work without, hurting themselves before we can have a safe workplace. Next slide. Okay. If you look at the figure and we look at those bullet points, there are two different schools of thought. Where you see where we wrote see it, that's the 10 energy sources. These are the 10 sources that powers the things that power an accident or a consequence. The other one on the bullet point are actually more or less material topics, headers that could result in ill health or an accident. Noise and vibration. So look at those guys that operate the jackhammer. That's compressor powered, machinery that maybe breaks in concrete and what have you. They're exposed directly to noise and vibration. But there are other activities in the workplace where noise and vibration takes place. So our question is, how do you plan for those activities as a facility manager such that it doesn't affect either your visitors or other co-workers? Exposure to X-ray, handling of hazardous substances, chemical hazard, biological. What are those external factors like drug abuse and alcohol that you need to control in the workplace? Have you actually looked at violence at work? How do you manage conflict resolution in the workplace? Then, of course, manual handling that results in work-related upper limb disorder and back problems. That's your manual lifting operation. Then, if smoking is allowed in the workplace, have you thought about the passive smokers? A passive smoker is someone that inhales the cigarette fumes even though he's not the one smoking. So do we have, a segregated or a dedicated place for smokers within the workplace? Or are we just living in self-denial and saying, oh, they don't smoke here? And when I come for an audit, I can actually see, the cigarette sticks, the smokes sticks around the facilities. If you look at hazard from the energy perspective, then we can say, is it a mechanical hazard? Is there an electrical hazard? Is that hazard due to pressure in a cylinder? Is there a situation where it is too cold or too hot? So we are working if you have a facility, or if you need to manage, an hot work or maybe a bakery operation or what have you. You know how hot the oven could be. Of course, we've spoken about chemical, we've spoken about biological, especially around the potable water, or what we call it drinking water in the workplace. Exposure to X-ray or radiation, maybe via your equipment. Maybe if you work in the hospital, then that is a YY, is a yes. Sound, noise, environmental noise. Gravity, is anything hanging above your head that could actually fall down? Or let me say this, is there anything temporarily suspended using an equipment, maybe a crane, forklift, or something that could actually fall down? Is there anything dangling? Then, of course, motion. That has to do with displacement, movement from one point to another. So these are those things that actually indicate that, oh, there is a likelihood of an incident in the workplace. And I said the incident can actually be a near miss. A near miss is when you say, oh, thank God. Oh, I'm lucky. Okay. Things like that shows that we need to learn. Before we leave this page, let me say this. Incident, hear me, I didn't say accident. Incident investigation is very key. Incident investigation. In your workplace, is there a structured way of identifying hazard? Okay, do we have a system in place that help us to go around and identify, oh, is there noise and vibration? Is there chemical hazard, biological hazard? Are people working in an unsafe manner? Is there an exposed electrical cable? Are there rotating parts that are not guarded? That's mechanical. Exposed electrical cable, that's electrical. Do we have cylinder, gas cylinder now, that is standing upright, that is not standing upright and has not changed? That's pressure. Not standing upright means that if the cylinder head is suddenly removes, then there'll be a trajectory or projectile injury to anyone standing in the line of fire. But if the cylinder is facing up, maybe your acetylene, maybe even so if you have cooking facility, so that means maybe the canteen, or the restaurants. So the cylinders need to stand upright and need to be chained to a stationary structure. Some of us might have read or heard about the gas explosion that happened in at Obasanjo Library in Abeokuta, Ogun State, where I think 1 or 2 technicians actually died. And that's just around AC servicing. And I can tell you for free that you need to ask or you need to check for the competence of those guys that came to work on those year con. Those things don't just happen. Next slide, please. Sorry, I think the time is I don't know. Time is running fast. I thought we were just here. I thought we just started. And I can see that we are almost here for an hour already. Okay. So, theory of accident. Does anybody have a question? Let me just take one question before we move. Please, if you have a question, can you raise up your hand? Let me just take that question before we move. What about 30? Yeah, so Will is that person? Oh yeah, Mr. Olayemi Kasale, you have the floor.
Thank you for the class. You mentioned the other time when you were mentioning the MSDS. Sorry, my internet had some little problem. So you wanted to spell it how it is being spelled.
You mean the shock?
Yes.
SHOC.
Okay.
SHOC. That's safe handling of chemicals.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, so just ask, and if you have chemical supplier, just ask for the MSDS material safety data sheet and the shock card, SHOC. Maybe the person has never even asked. He's our own supplier also. So from that document, you will see how you need to undo that chemical and what you need to do in case there's an incident.
Okay, thank you, sir. Well, for the MSDS sheet, sometimes when you are looking at it, you see a long list of chemicals, some of which, since most of us are not chemists or chemical experts, somebody may be looking at the chemical and then you are not even sure what that chemical is, the potential hazard, though it may be listed there. I'm looking at, because I've read, I think there are some MSDS before, and for a layman who is not trained on chemical identification and reactions, it might be a bit difficult. What is the simplest way that such people can handle or identify a potential, let me say, dangerous chemicals and then be able to manage them?
Okay, so all you need to do.
I've seen some of them, and that's for some.
I understand. Some are even like, you can even have like a 10-page document and exactly. That's an MSDS. And so you're wondering, what do you want to do with this information? Yeah, so what you need to do is just, so far that is the chemical you requested for, or that's the chemical that you need to use. Then you don't need to go into the chemistry of the chemical, but just look at the hazards that are listed. And of course, there'll be a place where they'll put or they'll write what you need to do in case of emergency. So those two things are just key for you. What are the hazards? So it should not splash into your eyes. Can you actually control that not splashing? That activity, or prevent the chemical from splashing into your eyes? Maybe yes, maybe no. So we will then tell you that, from that risk assessment, okay, so let me say this. If we pick the MSDS documents, we can from there populate or write out or list out the hazards that's been stated in that document. Then you will now look at, okay, how likely can this hazard result in a consequence? Meaning that what's the possibility that this thing will occur? So if there is something around this chemical should not touch your skin, then for the chemical not to touch your skin, it means that you need to wear your hand gloves and you need to be properly kitted for that activity. But again, the chemical could or might still touch your skin. Then you would then look at the emergency situation stated in the MSDS. Oh, wash under running water, or wash under warm water, or do not pour water. Seek medical assistance immediately. In fact, we have eye wash in bottle, not just the shower. So if you're handling chemical and it's that you should have, or you should use the eye wash, they are always in bottles. If instead I should use eye wash in case this chemical splash into your eyes, then you need to actually also buy or make sure you have eye wash within your facility. And when that task or operation is about to take place, if it's a routine operation, then turn that safety precaution into as part of it, add it to your SOP, to your standard operating procedure, to say, okay, for a technician to use this, the eye wash must always be at the point of use, just in case, there is a splash. But don't worry, we get there and we try and balance out what we call the hierarchy of control, or control of hazards. What are those things we need to do, and in what sequence? Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
But importantly, please watch out for the hazard and for the emergency procedure in case there's a spill. Thank you. Theory of accidents. We've said that an accident is an event. You don't want it, you didn't plan it, but it has occurred. That can actually lead to injury to human health, or to injury to people. It could lead to damage to assets, or even environmental damage. And it could also lead to loss of reputation, brand issue. So we said most times they can be caused. The difference between hazard and a near miss is just the fact that an hazard must result in a consequence, in a negative consequence, before we can call it an accident. But if it doesn't result in negative consequence, then it is not an accident. Meaning that if you trip and you fell, or you slipped on your tiles and you fell down really, but you did not sustain any injury, it is a near miss. However, because a near miss is also an incident, you need to investigate. Why did I fall? So you can use the 5 whys, or we can use what we call the fishbone analysis. I don't want to talk about fishbone. It may sound very complex, the Shikara method, but so okay, I'll find a way to talk about fishbone. But you can ask yourself, why did I fall? Oh, there was water on the floor. Why was there water on the floor? You can then say, oh, because it spilled from maybe another personnel. Okay, if it spilled, no problem. Why was the spilled water not cleaned up? So that could go 2 ways. Is that the person that spilled the water does not care? Maybe it's even the coffee, he or she doesn't care. Or maybe there is no mop stick. So if there is no mop stick, so the person actually cared, they wanted to actually clean the floor, but there's no mop stick. Why is there no mop stick? So is it that the mop stick is currently in use by the cleaners, or we don't even have the cleaners, or we don't even have mop stick at all? Okay, so if you don't have the mop stick at all, why didn't we have the mop stick at all? That could also go 2 ways. Is either we have identified the need and money was not provided, so is either, oh, it wasn't budgeted for, so it wasn't provided, or the previous one got damaged and nobody reported, or it wasn't replaced. So why was it not replaced? Because it wasn't reported, Joanne. And maybe the account was like, there's no money, it wasn't budgeted for. So we can then pinpoint it as either a management issue or a people issue. Let me say this again. Water spilled on the tiles. Somebody slipped. Water spilled. Somebody slipped. And maybe luckily the person did not get injured. Please don't look away or don't walk away. We need to still launch an investigation. We need to understand why this person fell down. It may not be the mob issue. It may be the footwear issue. So we can say maybe the friction of, so it could be that the person is wearing bedroom slippers or a footwear that doesn't have good friction. Then, or maybe the lady is wearing a very high, maybe a 10 or 12 inch heels. I don't know if 12 inches is high enough. I'm just guessing. No. Okay, so that may just be the situation. Then that may help us to, maybe there is even a trend. That may help us to say, oh, we need to have a footwear policy in this organization and say all workers should actually be on the safety boots, or say wet floor signages should be displayed and workers, because it's even possible that the guy was, yes, maybe he wasn't wearing the right footwear, but he didn't even see that there was spilled water. Or maybe the water spilled on the floor. Story of accidents. It could be a near miss with injury or without, without injury. That's a near miss. It could be that there was minor injury. It could be that the injury was actually major, which could be a lost time accident, or a lost time injury, what we call the LTI, or what we call the MTC, the medical treated case, or what we call the RWC, the restricted work case. Then, of course, level 4, it could be total asset damage or fatality. We'll be going on short break at 5:30. So let me just rush the next 3 minutes. Next, please. So you can see the boss triangle. It's fine. So let me just talk about this, then we can go on break. No. Next. Why do we need to prevent an accident from happening? Yes, why? Why do we need to prevent an accident? 3 reasons why we need to prevent an accident. Oh, so what I wanted to say the other time was Convention 164, Recommendation 187 or something. Just, but maybe when we're on break, I'll just do a Google search, and I can just tell you what's the right. So I think my head is, congested. Yeah? Okay, so there's all called duty of care. So there are 3 reasons why we need to, prevent accidents from happening. 1, duty of care. The employer owes the employee a duty to provide a safe workplace for the employee. The employer must not only employ someone because he wants to pay the person some money as salary, but because he wants to ensure that there is life after work. We don't want to work to live. We want to live to work. We want to be alive so that we can work. We don't want to work to be alive. There is the living to work angle, which is the duty of care, that the employer actually owes this guy all the information that he needs to know for him to operate this equipment safely. That the employer needs to let this person know that if you get into this facility, your safety is, or your safety partially lies with the employer, with the facility owner. And this is actually the crux of the matter. As a facility manager, sir, if I enter your facility today, Abiko, if I enter your facility today, then I'm your property. That is just what duty of care is telling us. Secondly, and again, let me just say this again. When there is duty of care, there is actually 2 ways. The employee also has a duty to the employer. The employee will not say that, oh, because it is the employer's issue. If it were in manufacturing, we have what we call the Factory Act 2004. If it were in the oil and gas sector, we have the safety regulation, I beg your pardon, 1997. And so the Factory Act is so strict. So the Ministry of Labor can actually come into your facility and assess your compliance with Factory Act if you are into manufacturing or your factory. Unfortunately for us, the Nigeria safety landscape is still nascent, is still at the embryo phase, and we don't even have a law or a regulation that binds the employer, all employers in all sectors, to comply with health and safety. So what we have now is actually in bits. Okay, in piecemeal. Then secondly, there's what called the financial reason, which is the cost. It costs money. Accident costs money. I won't lie to you, sir. Accident costs money. Hospital costs, compensation costs, fines that you'll be paid, that will be paid, maybe even insurance payment that will go up and things like that. We go into that details when we come back from break, from the 5 minutes economics break. Then lastly, there is legal requirement or legal reasons. You don't want to be okay, so you don't want to go to jail. So I don't want. So let me use the word. You don't want your bosses or you don't want organizations to be criminalized, or you don't want them to even face civil lawsuits. So under the legal requirements, it could be a criminal offense or it could be a civil offense. A criminal offense is when a regulation or a law is actually broken. A civil offense is when an accident happens, or let me say, so it's a civil lawsuit can be stated against your organization when and if an accident happens, which should have reasonably be prevented. So if somebody dies in a factory, we go into the Factory Act and say, oh, was any law broken? If yes, it's a criminal offense. So we can actually prosecute the employer, who is now maybe the owner of the company, then maybe management staff, the management team, which might include you as the FM. So criminal charges could actually be leveled against you if a regulation was actually broken or not complied with. And it could be a civil suit if by common understanding or by common sense, that accident is preventable. Do you want your bosses to go to jail, or do you want to go to jail? Do you want to get lawyers on board? Apology if you are a lawyer on this call. If a lawyer is on this call, apologies. Do you want to be paying your legal team or your lawyer some money to represent you in court? Do you want to live with the pains of remembering that you caused or somebody died, or you witnessed someone's death? Again, do you want to pay all this financial cost? Please, let's go on break and come back at 5:38, please. It's 5:30, right? Let's go at 5:40, please. Thank you. So we're gonna we're going to continue from the next slide when we come back. Thank you. And if you have a question, maybe you can ask me. Otherwise, let's go on break. Thank you. So walk about, stretch your legs, take some water, everything you need to do, please. Please, we're on break. Hello, Barakat. I hope everybody knows that we're on break now.
Yes, we are aware, sir.
So everybody knows.
Oh, it's time already. Time flies, eh? Okay, no, just go back. This not no. Hi, why are you skipping my slides? Hello.
Hi.
Why are you scaring me? Please go back to
Hello.
where we are. Do you plan to scare all of us with all these pictures? Go back to where we were. Don't. You're looking at the slides. Don't worry. Where I need to jump, I will jump. Don't worry.
Don't jump. It's hazardous to jump.
I will jump now. Definitely.
It's hazardous to jump.
We have 1 hour 20 minutes left. Especially if I don't have a work permit. Baraka, don't scare us now. We know what health and safety means. Don't worry. We know. Okay, let me just say something around this slide. Then we move. No, there's some things I've already said. So we're going to get to those slides. We just skip, right? So are we back in class? Can we have just 80 minutes left? Hello, team.
Hi.
Are we back?
We are here.
We are back.
Okay.
We can hear you. Theory of accidents.
Okay. Okay, that's fine. Thank you. Okay, so we said factors and causes of accidents. So I know somebody is wondering that so what causes accidents? So when an accident happens or an incident, what are those things we look out for? So there's what we call the basic cause, and that's what we call the underlying cause. Basic cause or basic causes are those things you see. I explained the water spill and personnel slip the other time. It could be in the generator house where there will be, except the facility is new. You'll have seen the black okay now the contaminated soil around concreted, and there is a diesel spill on the floor or even oil spill. If it's not cleaned immediately, or the person is not conscious of his environment, is not aware in most cases that there is a spill on the floor, then the person will actually slip and fall. If you slip and fall and maybe he's able to hold something, grab something on his way down, fine. But he can actually slip, fall, and bang his head against concrete floor and die. What you will see as FM, if you get to that site, is this spilled diesel on the floor, and maybe the Dunlop bedroom slippers that guy is wearing, right? But that is just as happened that made this thing to happen, and they are not spirits, so it's not village people. So when I say something has happened, so someone will be like, yes, now maybe from his village. No, it's not about village this time around, and that's what we call the underlying causes. Well, the occupational factor, including stress, the environmental factor, which includes ventilation, illumination, temperature and what have you in that environment. Human factor, that's to do with his own capability, experience, safety attitude, or attitude to safety. Maybe he's fatigued, he's overworked. Maybe he's even under the influence of drug and alcohol. And there's what we call the organizational factor, which has to do with the management itself. When I say management, I mean the leadership of the organization. Do they think that we should have risk assessments? Do they think that we should have the right tools at work? Do we have the right policies and procedures? Do we have the right level of training? Was the right person recruited? These are factors that are analyzed. So imagine, so someone told me that is a solar engineer, right? Imagine you just recruit someone that has no training, no engineering background, no training. So you may not have engineering background, but you may have actually gone to learn about maybe electrical installations or solar installations. But imagine the person has not learned anything about around solar installation, he never entered an engineering class, so he's not even aware of the fact that electricity is actually dangerous. And the person again has no experience, but because his brother or his cousin is the HR, and they now said, oh, they want to recruit an electrical engineer. They want to recruit an electrical technician. So it was like, okay, you can do it now. Yeah, go and do it. Someone that does not even know how to use the right tools, doesn't even know how to select the tools, let alone using those tools correctly. Those are organizational factors, things that we do that, could lay bad foundation for health and safety. Human factor. Some people are even careless. Some people is even around their own belief that nothing will happen, that nothing is going to happen to them. Then a big thing then happen. A human factor even could be the way the work has been set up, could even be the way, the orientation of the building or the orientation of the equipment. And of course, occupational factor. These are the factors that have to do with the work itself. So these factors are not things that you will see when you get to the scene of the incident. What you will be seeing is diesel on the floor, spilled diesel on the floor, and maybe the guy that was injured. Or you see, so if the guy has actually tripped maybe over, or the guy has actually, maybe tripped over an open hole. What you'll be seeing is just that opening, that floor opening. And you'll be blaming someone. Oh, so why didn't you guys cover this opening? Covering that opening is not the solution. There's what we call systemic barrier or systemic failure. Something is within the organization. Something is underlying that we all need to deal with. Okay? So accidents are caused by unsafe acts and unsafe condition. Next, please. To the accountants, this is very important. I'm joking here. To everyone, this is very important. This is very important. Cost of accidents and ill health. There's what we call the cost to the employee and the cost to the employer. Clearly from the screen, you can even see that there's what we call the cost to close friends and families of the employees. And there is cost to the general public. And someone is asking me, which one is general public again? If the person, so let me be religious at this time. So if the person is a member of the choir, or if the person is a song leader in church, or if the person is a Muslim and maybe also a leader in the mosque, and the person got injured at work, you are sure that on Sunday or on Friday or whenever that person is supposed to perform his duties to the benefit of the community, he or she will not be able to do that. Again, the church may even need to, depending on how buoyant that person is financially, the church may even need to contribute some money, or the mosque, or people need to contribute money to offset of hospital bills. People that didn't follow him to his place of work, people that didn't witness how careless he was at work. And they are not even his family members, but because they know this guy. If the guy is actually active in maybe in other social gatherings, maybe he's a member of the golf club, maybe he's a tennis player, whatever he's doing, as extracurricular activity, that thing will suffer. Then his own family members, wife or husband, or brother or sister, parents, we also suffer. We also experience some suffering or some level of suffering. Same thing for the injured victim himself. He's going to suffer those pains and suffer. Now, if he was going to suffer alone, then maybe we don't have any problem. But he's going to suffer with others. So there's a cost to the employee, a cost to the close friend and family members, and cost the tax. So there isn't a cost to the government. The government is even at loss. The government is not happy that you are injured, because if your salary is not paid, then they pay as you earn. The tax deduction will not be remitted. So so government is not even happy that you are injured. Then there is the cost to the employer. They need to get another person to do your job. They need to pay a hospital bill. If there's a lawsuit, they need to do that. If there is even lost hours, man hour, that machine that person is working on need to stop work at that point in time. People will actually be sympathetic towards him, so there will be this time lost discussing the issues, discussing about the incident. Let me say that all types of incidents should be reported. Next slide, please. All types, all. I've put granular using the generator house or your reception area as examples. Water spilled that spilled on the floor at the reception area, or diesel that spilled on the floor in the generator, can actually make someone to sleep and fall and maybe die. Okay. This triangle is just showing us how it happens. That is what we call the at-risk behavior. That unsafe act that nobody is talking about. People chasing themselves up and down the staircase. People walking on the staircase without holding the handrail. Those behaviors we ignore today will become the incidents of tomorrow. You need to put procedures in place. You need to state what it is that you want people to comply with. But there is a systematic approach to this. And that's what we call the risk assessment. We'll get there. But before we talk about that, let me just say that, so this triangle is just telling you that health and safety, that's safety in the workplace, that is not a process area where you can simply have fire and explosion. So I'm not talking of a gas plant here. I'm talking of, in an ordinary workplace. There have been a lot of people, turning poor safety into organizational culture. Literally at us. You as the regional manager, why working up and down the staircase? Do you hold handrail? It's not just putting it. you do you even desks and chairs in a way that people don't trip while they are walking, or people need to cross over cables because you didn't provide extensions, extension cords for them. Or is a week in the hospital. Which could be you give the person compulsory leave because the accident happened at work. You have to pay the person. And again, you need to employ somebody temporarily to carry out his function or pay some people overtime expense. Next slide, please. Please, let's move fast. Next slide. That sees that observed incident should report it. Employee, employer, contractor, supplier, vendor, set that environment that people know that they can report incidents without being punished. So it is called a non-punitive safety reporting environment. Let people report and commend them. What classes of incident are reportable? Please. This one is theoretical, saying, oh, personal injury, environment, anything you see that you think can lead to harm, report it. Next slide. Management process. Familiar with the PDCA, right? But it's beyond in your organization. Do you set KPIs? Hello? Okay, do you want to raise up your hand so I can call you? So are we saying that over 30 people, so we have 30 people here, and just how many people are actually host or co-host? 5 of us. So we should have 33. I don't think there are some professors in this class. So we have 33 people in this class. So do we set safety KPIs? So I want to take that silence for no. Okay. Okay. Let me be nice by saying that it's not good enough. The same way we have KPIs for the same way HR guy, the human resources have KPI, the same way the accountants have their KPI and what have you. FMs, facility managers, please, we need to have health and safety KPIs. And those KPIs need to be proactive. They need to be future seeking, future looking. And in health and safety, we also have reactive ones. So for instance, number of injuries. Number of injuries, you can't be forecasting injury. You can't be saying, oh, injuries will happen. But they could happen. So please, we need to look at, so we call it leading and lagging indicators. Performance indicators, leading and lagging. Leading means proactive indicators. Number of health and safety meetings you want to have in 1 year. Minimum of 12. If you say 12, that means once per month, you should have safety meeting. And you should have minute of meeting, attendance, and agenda. So attendance, agenda, minute of meeting. If possible, maybe a discussion topic. Please, you need to have that every month. You need to set a target for hazard identification. So some people call it hazard spotting. Please, you need to have that. You need to have a number of inspections that has been conducted, health and safety inspections. So you need, so there's what we call in Six Sigma, there's what we call go to Gemba. That's visit the shop floor. FM, you need to go to Gemba. You need to visit the shop floor. Stop having a Kuban or a Kaban kind of oversight where you just look at, is it green, is it red? We don't have downtime, and that means we are fine. No, you are not fine. It's an accident waiting to happen. It's calamity piling up. You need to go to Gemba. So as FM, do you have inspection schedule for your fire extinguishers, first aid box, shop floor, equipment, facility walkabouts? Please stop walking around the facility by intuition as the spirit leads. No. Don't let spirit lead you to walking about the facility alone. Yes, you must have what we call management facility walkabout. In fact, when I was in NBC, when I was with Bakula, we do that every morning in the plant. The plant manager needs to walk about. Okay, so Bakula has 3 shifts. So there is the night shift that hand over into the morning shift. And we want to go that. So this morning, have we done our housekeeping? Are those things that could trigger? Are those that could actually trigger accidents? Have they been identified? That is, sir, that is different from your own walkabout of what we call the inspections. You need to get your boss. I don't know how big your organization is, but if the FM, so if you are the boss, you are the FM, then please, if you have 1 or 2 people reporting to you, carry them along. It's part of training. And walk about each floor. You want to know, that's where you will spot maybe ACs are not working. When people see you do that walkabout, they will even be open to complain to you, maybe when they see you. Then you can then encourage them to please report it. They can share, maybe send you a short email, depending on the organization. Maybe something that if you are part of that organization and you are not just facility managing, or you're not just managing that facility, then you can even create a WhatsApp group. I did that when I was in NBC, and that's what we used to do, and it worked. So everywhere I worked, I used to have the health and safety WhatsApp group. So health and safety WhatsApp group, people take pictures on the spot reporting. They take picture of what is bad, right? Describe the location, and send to that WhatsApp group. And when they see you as an FM acting on it, you are so sure that you're going to have more. But when they report and after 1 month, it's the same issue, forget it. You have lost that avenue, that window of touching base with the people. But apart from touching base via social media, I use this WhatsApp example now because maybe we don't go to work every day. So, and or because of COVID-19 restrictions, they don't want to go visiting people, blah, blah, blah. Or they can snap trail cables in their own space and share with you. Then you can then act on it. They can snap dirty restroom. You may have cleaners and you think, oh, they're very busy, oh, they're working. And maybe they're just doing what we call eye service. Oh, they know that you're coming today. So they will then try and clean up. Yes. Can you present this slide again, Baraka? It's gone. So what we're trying to say is that for risk assessment, for a risk management process to work, you need to go to Gemba. Then when we start this, Baraka, please, we can't see the screen anymore. When we started this call, or is she not here? Hi, can someone project this slide? Okay, it's coming up. Okay. So we said the risk is the likelihood of, leave it on this slide, sorry. So risk is the likelihood of an incident occurring, likelihood. Then when we then say risk assessment is the likelihood of occurrence of an event and the severity, underlying severity, impacts, extent of outcome of that hazard becoming or turning into a consequence. So risk assessment is the process of evaluating the likelihood and the severity of an unexpected outcome or of an hazard becoming a consequence. As a safety champion, FM, you need to have what we call the risk register. Can you see role of a safety champion? You need to have what we call a risk register. So, meaning that, can you list out what are all those activities that you do? The routine and non-routine ones. Routine ones are those things that your team does every day. They come to work. The maintenance team, okay, so they charge, they need to maybe start the generator, receive fuel into the tank, the storage tank. Maybe your cleaners need to clean the facade. They need to mop the floor or sweep the floor. What again? Maybe water treatment guys need to, at least work with chemicals, with chlorine and water. So if that is the case, then you turn those activities into SOPs. That's your standard operating procedures. So you create safe procedure within SOPs so that they can then understand what they need to do to work safely. But if it is a non-routine job, such as work at height, so once in a while, we actually climb the tank. Once in a while, we use the ladder to assess a place. Once in a while, we get the welders to come in and weld some stuff. Things that we don't do every day. These are not routine jobs. We also need to then find a way to manage them through what we call the work permits and job hazard analysis. Risk register. What are the activities? What can go wrong within each activity? Then you need to keep what we call the legal register. So you need to know the legal requirements of your own operation and the states you are working within. If you have a safety case, please manage it. Safety case is a document where the risk has been identified, the controls have been stipulated. So you need to then implement those controls by what we call safety case management. You need to manage internal safety evaluation program. So the trainings you've done, the toolbox talks that you've had, the meetings you've had, you need to assess if they are working. Then also you need to manage what we call the safety improvement suggestion program. So safety is partnership. Safety is around working with people. So people who are giving you feedback, what do you do with those feedback? Again, I've mentioned, or I've said something around hazard identification program, and I've given us about 2 or 3 methods on how we can identify hazard to manage risks. I don't know if we actually caught that in my explanation. I said, one, you can institutionalize management, walk the talk. You can call it walk the talk program, WTT, management walk the talk, meaning that we put our money where our mouth is, or we put our mouth where our money is. Well, I want you to actually put your money where your mouth is. So somebody has actually written or signed a policy. You said, oh, we care for your health and safety. Please demonstrate it. Don't just say it. So institutionalize walk the talk program. 2, I said, you as FM, you need to go to Gemba. Meaning that you need to also, conduct shop floor inspection. Underline the word shop floor. And 3, you need to encourage collaborative reporting. So you can use your WhatsApp group. You can even print a card. You can send them to send you via email. The system must work so that people can actually report hazards, near misses, risks that they've identified to you as the FM. Next slide, please. Next slide. Next slide, please. What is on my screen is frozen. Are you there? Okay, so looking at this picture now, this is a lift operation that was about to take place. The pipe was actually going into the tank. They used 2 tanks, but the key path is where people are standing. Can you see where people are standing? Yes. So the question is, are they supposed to be standing there? If yes, why? If no, why not? I go with no. So why should they not be standing? I would then say, oh, what if the crane fails? Then someone will tell me, oh no, 2 cranes cannot fail at a time. What's the meaning of that? Please, next slide. The crane actually failed. Okay, and this is the guy, one of the casualties, one of the victims that fell off from the scaffold. Very good. The phases of hazard analysis. There are 3 phases. 3 phases of hazard analysis. There is what we call the planning phase. There's what we call the permitting phase. And there's what we call the implementation or operational phase. Most of us will just request a vendor, a contractor to just submit quotation. How many of us have actually asked that same vendor to come to site to survey what he or she wants to do and tell you what you need to do, health and safety wise? Okay, so permitting phase gives you the access to, develop what we call the job safety analysis. The planning phase gives you access to what we call the prevention plan. So at the planning phase, the contractor visits your site or the vendor and, look at your facility, having in mind the service or solution is bringing, and we try to marry both together. Meaning that if somebody is going to maybe conduct a work at height for you, he or she needs to come and see maybe the the way and how he's going to position the scaffold, the location, if there are overhead facilities or utilities. The person is actually going to excavate, and you're telling me, oh, he's going to excavate this place. You need to come and see, okay, do we have pipes or cables buried underground in those places that is going to work? All those will happen at the permit and at the planning phase. All this should happen at the planning phase. It's possible that there will be a cost associated to that. So when the guy is submitting his quotation, you may need to actually add maybe extra 10,000 naira to say, oh, this is because of XYZ. But in a place where the guy did not quote for use of scaffold, and he gets there and realizes that he has to use scaffold, and he feels, oh, he doesn't want to spare the 30K per day that we hire the scaffold, well, maybe that's how much they hire. He will then find a way to look for maybe one table, that he can stand on or can use as access. So again, what happens to answer all the questions, I think it was Saki's question earlier around the synergy, collaboration, to resolve the conflict. This is a slide that will resolve the conflict for you, sir. This slide, apart from the KPI I mentioned, this is another slide. This slide will resolve the conflict. How do I mean? Most times, the project engineers, facility managers, or what have you, bring in contractors to the site or to the facility, and they want the contractor to start work almost immediately. Now, the safety guy will be like, oh no, this guy does not have the right PPEs, so he can't work. But because the FM, the facility manager, is actually pressed for time, maybe it's a failure or a breakdown that needs to be fixed immediately, then it becomes an issue of, oh, if you stop this guy from working, then production will stop. And the safety guy will also say, oh, if we allow this guy to work, he may be injured, then it damages, our statistics. So if it's not a breakdown activity, when I use the word breakdown, I mean that so a machine or an equipment was working, and suddenly it stopped working. Suddenly, it stopped working and there's no backup. Then that is a breakdown. So and for a breakdown, you need to also carry out a breakdown maintenance, which is always reactive. Okay, so if that is what we are doing, then the guy will come in and the engineer, we want him to go into the implementation phase right away. And someone like me will say, no, we need to plan this job, we need to permit this job, and we need to implement this job. So the planning phase is where the guy, that's the contractor or supplier, or the worker, as the case may be, actually take cognizance of the environmental and occupational hazards that could be involved in the course of that work, and it will make adequate provisioning to solve those issues. The permitting phase, it will come, it will discuss that activity or that job or that task with the dedicated health and safety guy or facility manager that has attended a class like this, and tell him, oh, this is what I want to do, and these are the risks that are involved. I want to climb the ladder, and I'll be, walking from on top of the ladder. Then as a safety manager, you then be asking, okay, how high is that spot? Who is going to be holding the ladder for you? We call ladder footing. The ladder you are going to use, is it aluminum or fiberglass? Fiberglass, if it is an electrical environment where there could be a contact with electricity, naked cable or anything, because aluminum conducts. The person that will do this job, what is his experience? What's his training? Is there a need for us to have evidence of competence? Most times, if it's high risk job, yes, we ask for evidence. So if the guy even suffers some form of injury, we can say, oh, the guy was trained, We had a toolbox meeting. This is certificate that this is a certificate that he produced that he has had this training. Then we do the risk assessment together, where we look at the likelihood and the severity. So if someone is going to use a ladder to assess a 4-meter high, maybe a 4-meter high, maybe sports, maybe needed to maybe change something that has been hung overhead, and is using a ladder, we need to even condone off that work area so that whatever I want to fix or I want to remove up there does not fall on another person standing on the ground. Listen to this. When you are walking on a ladder, there must be what we call a 3 point of contact. That means your 2 feet and 1 hand must always be on the ladder. That means when you're walking on a ladder, you're only allowed to have 1 free hand, just one. So if a carpenter is using a ladder, does he have both hands free? Is he working with both hands or 1 hand? To answer that question, he's working with both hands, right? By so doing, it doesn't have 3 points of contact, and it can actually fall off the ladder. That's why we've now accepted and concluded that a ladder is an access equipment, is not a working platform. I repeat, a ladder is an access equipment and not a working platform. So I've been in facilities here in, I don't know, somebody has mentioned this facility. I think I've been in that facility before. And you will be amazed at different level of safety acceptability by the technicians. So when one will say, oh no, let's use a scaffold, the other guy will say, no, we've been using a ladder for the past 20 years, let's use it. Please, in health and safety, because there was no incident does not mean that there will not be an incident. Because you have been driving for the past 20 years does not mean that you cannot be involved in an accident. If you know jam person, they go jam you. Especially if you stay in Lagos. So if an accident has not occurred in that facility, doesn't immunize your facility, so there's no immunity. Doesn't COVID vaccinate your facility from having, or experiencing an accident. You need to stay on guard at all times. Loss prevention plan, very key before you award that contract, before the guy even comes to start to work. If the work will start tomorrow, let him come today or yesterday to check where he's going to work. And let that be clear in your process. Because if it's not clear, the guy will be like, oh no, it doesn't have transport. Maybe the job is not even something that's too expensive. Let it be clear that please, in as much as you are going to submit this quotation, you are expected and required to visit the site before you can start working if you are awarded. So that means if you win this contract, or if, it can even be single sourcing. It may not be a competitive bid. That means we are even saying, oh, Kolapo, come and supply this to us. But before I can supply or come and carry out this, come and service all the ACs. Before I come service all the ACs, I should have visited that site to familiarize myself with, okay, the location of the ACs. Will I need something like a ladder or a small, a step ladder, a scaffold? What will I even need to access this site? Will a shutdown be required? If yes, communicate. Because you can't come tomorrow and say you want to shut down. Even if I'm the engineer, I won't allow you. I mean, the contractor did not say he was going to shut down. The health and safety guy now said on the day of the assignment that shutdown is required. Sincerely, as an engineer, I may insist that no, this job will not go on. I won't say they should do the job without shutdown. No, that's not me. But that job will not be done that day. But now, if I'm the owner of the job, so if I'm the work owner, that means the KPI is sitting with me that this job must be completed. And the health and safety guy is saying, no, without a shutdown, we can't continue. Sir, respect shutdown. We call it energy release. Respect energy release, whether it's electrical or pneumatic or hydraulic. Respect energy release. Because if it goes wrong, it takes time to come back. So job safety analysis is very key, and that's where your safety guy will have issues with you. But please, you do the planning phase so that you can enhance possibility of a zero-free environment at the permitting phase. And the implementation phase, this relies this lies with the doer. This lies with the technician, the personnel carrying out the activity. We call it last-minute risk assessment. Think work incident free. Step by 5 5x5 step back risk assessment. What it means that when you want to start the job, apart from doing the two boxes around the workers looking at the job again and discussing what can actually cause harm to them. Okay, if two of us are carrying this thing, it's heavy, it can fall down. Maybe we need to get another person. Okay, so let's hire a labor. Those are things you need to do while permitting, when implementing. Oh, yes, maybe two of us can carry, but I'm tired. Let's get the top person. Or let's come and finish this tomorrow. Okay? Think work internet free. Believe that zero is possible. Believe that you can actually do this work without any injury or accident. After believing, put your belief into action by saying, so what do I need to do for me to actualize this belief? Faith without works. My own Bible told me that it is dead. So I don't know what's your own, I don't know what your own version or what your Bible is saying. Faith without work is dead. So it's not just about believing that zero is accident can be avoided. It's also about you now behaving in a way that, and supervising in a way, and managing in a way that prevents accidents from happening. Take work incident free. We call it last minute risk assessment. Last minute LMRA. So if you are open to work as a vendor, as a contractor to ExxonMobil, those are part of their 7 tools. LMRA, last minute risk assessment. That at the point of executing that job, please, can you step back? Can you take 5 steps back again? Think before you start. Don't just jump. Don't then anybody just tell you that, oh, this thing is not working. And FM, you can't just jump. Please, FM, don't put anybody under pressure. Yeah, do it now. It's not, let the guy spend 1 minute. I'm not saying the guy should be lazy. Let him do his own last minute risk assessment. Let him look at the power source again and say, please, can we turn off the power supply? Give him that. If I can even suggest to him and say, are you sure we don't need to switch off these lights? Or are we sure we're not supposed to shut down the generator? It's very key. Okay. I've explained it, so skip, please. Skip. That means go forward, go forward. Okay. So the job safety analysis, which is used at the permitting phase. At the planning phase, we use loss prevention plan, meaning that somebody has visited the person doing that job, the contractor or supplier has visited the work sites. It was accompanied by a member of your own team and the health and safety guy to look at everything and tell you what you need to do this job safely. Then it comes back. It could happen on the same day. Then it comes back and say, okay, I want to fill the permit to work. You fill the permit to work, get this JSA completed. Then it then goes to sites or to the work points and start working by thinking. Go with your brain. That's what we tell the team. So JSA, what do we say we're going to do? Identify the tasks. What am I doing? I'm servicing the AC, right? That's the task. I'm discharging diesel into the storage tank. That's the task. I am changing the circuit breaker. That's the task. I'm installing solar panels on a roof. So when you say solar panels, so I'll even ask you, Is it ground mounted? Is it roof mounted? I'm installing solar panel on a roof. Fantastic. Installation of solar panel on a roof is the whole activity. So what do you want to do? Let's break down that task into major steps. So identify the task. I want to install the solar panel. 2, to install solar panel on a roof, what do you need to do? Sir, you need to move that panel to the roof. Those panels cannot be on the floor, and you want to install on the roof. So that means there must be a movement. There must be there must be an action, an activity that states that you carry or you move. So you can say movement of solar panel to the rooftop, moving solar panel, whatever is your style. So moving solar panel is just one activity or one step among everything you need to do for you to be able to install solar panel on the roof safely. So let's stick to that movement of solar panel to the roof. What are the potential hazards? If you carry more than, so maybe the weight of the panel. So if you carry more than one, remember that again that I said ladder is an access equipment and it's not a working platform. So first thing you need, Oga solar engineer, first thing you need is a scaffold as a minimum. Scaffold that's the base plates so that the pipes don't sink into the ground. So you need scaffold that has base plates that's got toe boards, side kicks. The scaffold must be fully boarded that have internal ladder for you to be able to even move from one rung to another. You must not monkey on the scaffold. You're not a monkey. You cannot afford to be jumping on scaffold. You can't. So when you're even hiring the scaffold, are you even hiring the right scaffold? What kind of wood are you standing on? Is it an inch board? Wood, thick wood. For you that you are going to actually stand on the scaffold, are you wearing your body harness? That's the fall arrest or fall protection. Are you wearing your safety boots so that even if the panel falls on your feet, it doesn't hurt your toes? Are you sure that you don't walk under a wet or rainy condition? It can't be raining and you will be carrying panels. Are you sure you're wearing your hand gloves against hand bruises? What are you doing exactly? That is my question. You want to move panel from ground floor to the top of a 4 or 5 story building. Let's even say 3-story building. Let's even say it's a duplex, so it's just a story building. If you carry the panel with the aid of your ladder, you will never have 3 points of contact at a time because one of your hands is actually occupied already. So that means you will now then be looking for an innovative way of pulling, the panel to your level. And if that panel falls, that's 70K, depending on the watt you get, or maybe the control of make. So is it calendar, solar, what have you? So I'm just saying that you need to think through that process very well. Same thing with some of us that we just get the painters to come and say, come and paint. Come and paint how now? Is it going to use a long roller so I will avoid standing on scaffold? Or are you going to use a ladder and be painting via from on top of the ladder? These are key. Then identify the energy source related to each step. If it is the stuff we are talking about now, the solar panel, then 2 forces will act. There is the part of the motion, or the panel needs to move from one place to another, right? So there is displacement. And there is what we call the force of gravity, so the gravitational force. If that panel should fall, it will fall with a force of the weight of the panel times 9.81. which is the force of gravity. And whatever it strikes, whatever it eats, will feel that force 100%. So energy source in that activity is both motion and gravitational. For painting activity, obviously that's chemical. All right. Then what's the probability of that solar panel falling down based on the way you plan to carry it? Is it likely? So this we do a ranking of 1 to 5. 5 being the highest, 1 being the lowest. How likely? So use your judgmental, expert judgment approach. Then how severe? If it happens, how bad can it be? If it's a solar panel, maybe if it falls down, it's just going to fall to the floor on the ground, and of course the panel will get damaged. But what maybe the cost of our panel is just maybe 70K. Well, depending on the risk appetite of the company, it may even be a low risk. Like 70K, no problem. To some people, 70K, you die. It depends on the risk appetite of which is tied again to buoyancy. That's cash flow of that company. Then of course, you then multiply that likelihood. So likelihood or probability is between 1 and 5. Severity also is between 1 and 5. They then multiply the score, the ranking that you gave to likelihood and the one you gave to severity. And that gives you the step 7. That when you say determine the initial risk rating, just the multiplication. Likelihood times severity will give you the initial risk rating. Then when you have that, then can you then take credit for existing controls? Well, so when I say take credit, I mean you want to paint and the painter is going to use a long brush. Even though the paint may fall down if it's tight, or the guy can even fall down. So there can be a fall either way. But because the person has now brought a long brush, you get, then that means the person is not using or may not use the scaffold or may not be working at tight. Then you need to state that. And there's additional controls such as the PPs that will be worn. After doing this, then you can then check what is the likelihood again. The likelihood may still be the same, but I can tell you, sir, that the severity is not the same. In fact, for the guy that has used a long roller brush as against using climbing a scaffold, the likelihood has actually reduced so much. Then you can then do the multiplication and you will then get the final risk ranking. Next, please. So this is what I explained. Can you see this? Take each one as a step. And this is what I just explained to you. Okay. I've explained all this. Can we move? Just keep moving. So you can always read them up. I've explained all this. Okay, hold on here. Let me just go back. Yeah, step. So let me just explain this one. So you can see a welder with a burning torch. Yes, working, trying to cut that pipe. So you can see the way the guy has positioned his hand. You can see the cylinder, or the cylinder that is using to burn, that is using to burn the pipe. So you can see that there is electrical, there is cable. You can see the mechanical, which is the rotating parts. All these, you can even see the spark, right? Which you can say, okay, is an heat source. Then the other pipe can actually fall down, which is the gravity. So just in this welding room, we have so there is only pressure from that cylinder. Apart from that, the fact that cylinder can actually explode due to backflash, which is different from pressure. You get. So when the non-return valve is not working, and so you can see that in just this activity, there are about 5, 6, rigs that could actually happen. Some of us will approach electrical equipment with wet hands. No, and no, is a risk we should not take. Next slide, please. Just keep, let me see. Next slide. Just keep going. So temperature can talk to your AC or hot work or what have you. Yeah. So all these we are just examples, you know, for you to know. Hold on here. Let me speak around the hierarchy of control. Okay. So everything we're speaking to since morning, I know somebody will be asking me, so how do we control this? We don't just control this. We control this using a funnel or a filter, or what we call the hierarchy of risk control. There must be. So the first one is elimination. Is it possible for us to eliminate? Is it possible for us to eliminate this hazard? Is it possible for us to eliminate this hazard? When I say eliminate, I mean, so there is a tax. Is it possible for us to not do that tax? So if you don't do it, you've eliminated. I was telling someone, I think it was on this call that I said that I was supposed to go to Kaduna tomorrow. And some of us know what has happened in Kaduna, like in the last 3 to 4 months. You know, they kidnap and everything. So as against going to Kaduna, I then said, okay, let's consult the travel team. And the travel team is saying, can you have your meeting virtually as against going physically? That's elimination of risks. If you don't go, they can't kidnap you now. That's complete risk elimination. And you can't just eliminate without finding a substitute. And that's where the use of maybe Google Meet or Zoom or Microsoft Teams is going to come in. Isolation of energy source. Can we, so in some other text, they call it engineering control. But engineering control actually has 2 steps. There's what we call the isolation, there's what we call the control by caging or control by restriction. So here we have it as isolation of energy sources. Can we lock the tap? Excuse me. Can we switch off the lights? Can we unplug the AC before working on the AC? Can we disconnect the hazard? Can we disconnect the energy source, or at least one of the energy sources? So you want to service the AC. You know that if the outdoor is actually, suspended, then you need an access equipment. That means you need to work at height. You need a ladder or a scaffold to access that. All right. So it's as against working on an AC that is that's powered on. Can we switch off the AC and remove it from the plug? And from the socket, what I mean. So we remove the plug from the sockets. By that, you know that the AC can never be powered on unless somebody goes there. And that's why we have what we call the lockout tagout. Depending on what you are doing, depending on the energy source, especially if it's electrical, pneumatic, which is around air, or hydraulic, which is water. So if water is stored under pressure in a pipe, until they short that, so they will have to short the pipe and release the energy before you can work on it. Otherwise, that means you want to go through what we call the advanced engineering control. You know, if there is a burst pipeline, you can actually weld that pipeline without, quote and unquote, fully draining the pipe. So you can do what we call the mud welding. But again, you can insist that depending on the method and how much is available to play with, you can decide to say, okay, you know what, there is a busted pipeline, maybe by vandals, then what we need to do is we need to stop pumping the crude or the petroleum products and drain the pipe and flush that pipe with chemical foam to ensure that that is not flammable before we then weld. But in some facility, no, you don't need to do that. The other methods where you can actually even do a bypass for it to work on a spool, on a short piece of pipe. You may want to actually install maybe maybe pressure indicator, a PID. So maybe you want to install a pressure indicator or something. You can actually bypass, and the flow of the crude will still keep going. So you would have actually done those the bypass pipe, then you can then cut off. What we're saying here is that based on your engineering capacity or the cost, what are you willing to do? Controls by engineering method, especially for rotating pipe, rotating shafts or digs, any rotating parts. There is a need for you to have either a fixed guard or an interlock guard installed. A fixed guard, just like so is a fixed guard is permanent. It's permanent protection that prevents someone from coming in contact with that rotating part. It could be an interlock where there is a sensor. The moment you open the door of that equipment, forget it, the machine will stop. So the machine will sense intrusion and stops. But many at times, we people would have bypassed that sensor, or we just find one black tape and just cover the sensor. So we call it blinding. You made the sensor go blind. So by the time you blind the sensor, you can then open the door. The sensor will not be able to send anything. You understand? And with that, you have done a bypass. But we're saying that for you to have a successful operation, then you must have your engineering controls in place. Administrative control. Administrative control has to do with training, supervision, and having a session like this for us to understand what it takes to, work safely. I've said something around elimination, don't do it. Substitution or reduction, use something that is less hazardous. Isolation, lock off the energy sources. We call it logger tagger tryout. Lock it off, lock it out. Control by engineering method, cage it. Prevent physical contact by fixed guard, or use the interlock guard so that if the door to that equipment is open, then machine will stop operation, stop working, so I don't get caught or you don't get hurt. Administrative, train your people, supervise them correctly, recruit the right person with the right skill. Administrative, have oversight, have policies, have procedures in place. Administrative, use permit to work system. But if you notice, administrative is number 5. Can you see that? So when we say think safely, think safety, what we're saying is just this slide. Think safely, think safety. You want to travel to Maiduguri, there is a $1 million job that will need to be won. People are there. People are working in Maiduguri, so don't be scared. When I say people, I don't mean the military guys alone. I mean civilians like you and I that are there. So you want to go to Maiduguri, sir, will you want to go by road or by flight? If you must go, if it's possible for you not to go, and find, and maybe even, let's assume that you even want the job. You can even subcontract the job to a contractor that is there that you trust to. Otherwise, somebody will collect your money and say he has been killed by Boko Haram. And that's the end of the that's the end of the contract. So you need to say, okay, should I eliminate? So I don't need to go. So what should I do? Let me get somebody that is already there that can do the work for me. You've substituted, you've transferred the risks to another person. Then how do you control by engineering method? Now, this one is not around physical control now. So you may then do technological control. What are those KPIs you need to set? Then, so you involve maybe a program or you project manage this properly by saying, okay, what are the milestones? Can you go with payments by milestones? So don't just send money to someone to do the work for you because you can't go there. Okay, so when you have done this, I will do this. Or I will do this, you have to do this before you can before you can activate the next payment. Due diligence is key, of course, around this. Then lastly, or well, not lastly, there's what we call the PPE, personal protective equipment. Some of us, this is the only thing we know. Wear your boots, wear your hand gloves. Hand gloves will not save somebody from falling from heights. Boots will not, helmets will not save the person that will fall from a story, from maybe 2 or 3 story building from dying. So if you are not giving the person the right ladder or scaffold for him to climb, you are now saying you are supervising him. You're now saying, please go and stay with that person. Ensure you supervise. Supervise what with what? Note it today that be careful is not a safety control. If you tell somebody to drive carefully, that's not a control. That's an advice, yes, but it's not a control. Because you still need that person to take the advice. But imagine you have speed limits installed on the vehicle. Again, speed limit. So if you weigh the pros and cons, don't install speed limit again because of kidnappers. So I mean, in case there is an incident, you can then fire down at 120, 140. But I know in the industry we actually so the Nigeria Highway Code 2012 is saying that the activated trucks, those trucks should go at no more than 60 km/h. Now, if you go on 60 km/h, they will completely stop you on Abuja Kaduna Road and collect everything that you have. Or if you go to Imo, very easy. They just stop you and collect your onions. So we need to look at, so that's where again risk assessment is key. Elimination, reduction, isolation, control, administrative, and use of personal protective equipment. For some of us that have a weak safety control system, we can introduce what we call discipline, code of conduct. You clearly state what you want to see, people's behavior around health and safety, and the implication. So you carrot and stick. What if they behave this way? What is it for them? Maybe around their appraiser. It may not be everything. It's not about money. It could be an appraiser issue. So you score the person good or very good or excellent in his appraiser because he has done this. He submits near miss report and everything. But for the other guys, the stick can then be, punishment, like warning letter from HR for doing this. Next slide, please. Office safety. Do we need to speak about this? I think we can read this up. So we've spoken about, can you see the cable, the slip, trip and fall, what have you? All this, we need to just take care of them to prevent injury. Overload, we don't want it. Safe work practice is what we've been saying around permit to work, the JSA I spoke about, and the SOP that you need to have. Can you see this guy walking at tight? Can you go, please? Go forward. Yeah, can you see these guys? For prevention, you need to prevent yourself from falling. Use the belt, use the right tools to assess the height. Keep going, please. Yeah, so can you see this? Pause here. Can you see open holes, open floors? People can easily fall into this. So please walk about. That walkabout is very important, sir. That management walk the talk is key, very powerful. It could be, so if maybe somebody visits from head office, depending on how you guys work, if somebody visits from head office once in a month, you can even fix it towards that guy's visit. It's not for the guy to visit every time and be condemning. They didn't do this. No. Let the guy even, sir, we need to have a 10 minutes walkabout. Show him. Let him identify hazard for you. Very key. And, manage it that way. In 6 months, you'll be fine. Remember, it's not a punitive system. You're not there to blame. That somebody has has bypassed a machine or has electrical electrical box open. Just call the technician that is electrical technician and say, please fix this now. Before we come back, I want to see this place fixed. I was in an hospital for their facility assessment sometimes ago, I think before COVID. One of the big hospitals here in Lagos. And when I got to their utilities, I have to request that I want to see the facility manager. And I told them clearly that I can't, if they have been taking this from you guys, today I'm your consultant, I can't take this. This cannot be it. And they had in-house health and safety guy. This cannot be it. Cables cannot be joined, naked cables everywhere. I told them that it's easier to die outside the hospital than to die inside the hospital. I've gone around the hospital, within the hospital, I could see, they've got this lab, they've got this theater, they've got this, they've got the oxygen. Then COVID-19 was not even, pronounced. I think that was in 2019, December or something, or November. But I can easily die out there. I went to the kitchen. Oh, no, this can't be. And it was, so please, we need to do that walkabout. And sir, be known for something. Otherwise, you stand for nothing. Next slide. Can you see all these holes? We need to fix all this. Generator house. This is how it looks like. Keep going. So for the solar guy, go down, go a slide back. For the solar guy, can you see this roof? You need to have what we call a fall restraint. It's not body harness. There is a fall restraint that detects. It's just like it's a sling. It's a sling that actually so it's like a wire rope that detects speed or fast fall. So if it realizes that you are falling fast, it will stop. That means it will actually hook, and you won't touch the ground before you are rescued. So if you are walking on flat surfaces like this, or you're walking on roof surface, apart from your body harness, please, you need fall restraint, even more than the body harness. Continue, please. Yeah, can you see this guy is suspended? Rescue system, we don't need this. Just keep going. Okay, so this is the body harness. This is how it looks like, right? So it has to be full body harness, please. Don't buy waist. If you buy waist harness, your waist will get broken if you fall. Keep going, please. Okay. No. Go back that slide. Can you see the wire mesh itself? I'm sorry, the lanyard. The body harness lanyard is 6 feet. The clearance, the clearance distance to the floor is 3.5 feet, and your height is 6 feet. So when you fall, we are talking of 15.5 feet. Then again, your leg is not touching the floor. So that could be another 3 feet. So can you see that from the floor, for this example, the guy that fell down, will be hanging himself as if he's committing a suicide. And the anchor point will be 18.5 feet total height. So please be sure that your lanyard is not too long to cause damage to your backbone. Next, please. Okay, so these are just theories. Okay, please go and attend to the smoking generator. And if it needs to be shut down, please do. Okay. So we've spoken about work permits. Depends on what happens in your workplace. If you have a permit or you don't have a permit. But it's good, just study this section. It's good for you to have a work permit, for you to manage that permitting phase that I showed you earlier. Keep moving, please. hold on. Can you see that you can actually have work permits for non-routine jobs? So therefore, confined space entry, if you are entering a tank, you need work permits. Forget the content of the tank, whether it is forget the type of film that you actually find in the tank. Because of the fact that there is low oxygen, then you need a permit to work, and you need to even use your oxidometer or your 5X gas detector to check for level of oxygen and presence of gas. Very, very important. Nobody should enter a tank without that tank being tested using the MSA 5X gas tester, which you can actually buy maybe for 200-300K. You know, if you know that your facility requires people, please can you give me 5 more minutes and let me round off? Please, that is important. Then hot work, that's welding, cutting, anything hot work. Permit to work is important, especially if there are flammables around, because we don't want fire situation. Excavation or trenching, that means you want to actually dig. There could be underlying, there could be underground utilities or cables or pipes that you need to watch out for. Electrical work, you need permits, especially if it's medium voltage or high voltage. Isolation of hazardous energy, yes, you need permit to isolate, because that alone on itself can be a dangerous work. Then what we call SIMOPs or simultaneous operations, you need a permit. If 2-3 people are working on the same thing, please, there's a permit to work that needs to be issued so that there is no mistake. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, please. Don't worry, just you can read up the hot work. I want to go to, okay, clearly go to fire, but just keep going. All this I've spoken about this lockout audit on lockout. Yes, audit here. No, go a step. Yes. So can you see the lockout and so lockout tag out is actually padlock with a tag. Apply control of, can you see? Apply locks to power source after you have switched off the power. Use the padlock and keep the key. If you are the worker, let me say it again. The worker must be the one to keep the key here. Put a tag on it. Before you start working, please confirm using a multimeter if it is electrical, or by just opening the valve, the line, to be sure that nothing is left, to be sure that you drain the system. Then tag appropriately. Can you see we underline verify isolation? Please confirm before you start work, confirm that there is no energy in that by testing before you start working. Next, please. Sorry, the time is up. This is wrong. Go back, go one step back. This is wrong. You know why? A padlock must be used, not a seal. That's what's wrong with this picture. What's wrong is that they didn't use the padlock. So please use padlock and keep the key if you are the one working there. The one working on the equipment. So they don't open the padlock behind you and power on the equipment while you are still working. Next, electrical safety. I think I read this up there. Let me see. I think there's a slide I would like to talk about here. Keep going, not today. So no, go a step back, please. Let me see. No, not this, not the bonds, not this. Okay, yes, no. The next one. The next one. Next one, please. Yes. Please, this slide, I started this slide. This slide is very important, especially if you have things doing around electrical safety or you work with electrical equipment. Prevention, detection, control, protection, and rescue. These points are very important for electrical safety. You need to make sure that you get the right person to do the work. You need to make sure that you have the right equipment after you have even done your lockout tag out. You understand? So that's the control. Then you need to ensure that there is protection, which could be your PPE, and there must be a way or someone that can rescue you. That means there must be no lone working. Don't go and do it alone, because if there is electric shock, nobody will know that you are there. So this other activity must be coordinated. Next, please. No, so the burns, the fall, the electrical shock, all these are things we can read. Okay, sorry, my time is up. But I want to talk about fire. Let's keep going. Okay, no, go one step. No, wait, madam. Go 2 steps back. I want to see that overhead. Go a step back. Hold it here. Control overhead power lines. Please, as much as possible in your facility, if you have power cables close to your facility, whenever you want to do any work that requires to use a ladder, or you bring the cherry picker or the man lifter, or you don't use the scaffold or anything, or the crane, please ensure that it is minimum of 10 feet away. 10 feet, not 3 feet, 10 feet. So that's about 3 meters or 3.3 meters away from the overhead. Please, this is very key. If it is a crane, I'm not saying you should park the crane or the cherry picker or the man lift 3 meters away. No, the bucket must be 3 meters away. All right. Next. Okay, so please be fully kitted, depending on the kind of work you want to do. So be dressed for the occasion. The same way we dress for the occasion when we are going for weddings, parties, and everything. For PPE, dress for the occasion. They are working on high voltage. Wear your arc flash suit. They are working on medium voltage. Wear the right uniform, the right protective equipment. Please, very key. Select the right one and wear the right one. Next, I think my time is up fully. And I want to say something about fire. I need to talk about the fire triangle. No, just skip all this. These are costs. First aid is required here, or you go to the hospital, blah, 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 power tools. So MSD, can you see MSD? Okay, so this fire. So about 3 slides before here, you see the MSDS mentioned before this. Yes, can you see the MSDS? So you can also just check this. But like I said, it's important you know the hazard and you know the emergency response for your MSDS documents. So please take me to fire safety. So for fire safety, okay, let me just say something about first aid. First aid, please, the numbers are just 767-112. Emergency numbers again, 767 or 112 if you're in Lagos. 767, and you can just call the emergency center and they will respond to your call. You can then tell them what you've experienced. Do you need first aid? But please, it's important that you actually locate an hospital close to your facility because of Lagos traffic. So please locate an hospital close to where you work, and inspect and check that hospital before the day of the incident. So in case there is an emergency, you are sure that that hospital or that clinic has a doctor on standby and they can address your situation. Fire safety. Fire is a friend and an enemy at the same time. So there's what we call the fire triangle: the fuel, the heat, and the oxygen. Those 3 things must not come together, otherwise there will be fire. So most times what we can control is the fuel and the heat source. We can't control the oxygen because oxygen is not even supporting our own human existence, our own life. So please, at your place of work, make sure that fuel storage is done. When I say fuel storage now, I mean class B and C. That's your petrol, diesel, and gas. Actually, the storage are actually done in the right way. So you have the fuel cabinet, or you store them away from its source. Make sure you control all external activities, especially the hot work and electrical works, such that there are no sparks that could ignite fire in your workplace. Make sure that you have the right fire extinguishers. So most times at the workplace, what we need is the carbon dioxide, the CO2, and the dry chemical powder, the DCP, or what we call the ABC powder. Please, very important, you need to have those extinguishers in your workplace, and you need to maintain them. Please, at a minimum, extinguishers should be serviced twice in a year. At a minimum, you need to service the extinguishers twice a year. They must be labeled, they must be tagged. So the labeling, there's what called labeling and tagging, and it has to be functional. it has to be visibly and conspicuously located. Don't go and hide your fire extinguisher behind a cupboard because you don't want them to steal it. Because when there is fire, then the extinguisher is not usable because we don't even know where the extinguisher is. Don't go and change your fire extinguisher. Don't change them. Label the extinguishers and put them in places where it will be difficult to steal. Okay, so the kinds of fire UK classification, just major on the UK class ABCD for solid, liquid, gaseous, combustible metal, and animal fats. That's ABCDF. Okay, this is the checklist that you can use to know if your extinguisher is good or bad. You are supposed to answer yes to the 10 questions. Please make sure you check your fire extinguisher using this. This selection. So these are the type of extinguishers and what they can work on, their effectiveness. So you can see that CO2 and that DCP, that dry powder, can work on a lot of classes, ABCD. The result is that if you use dry chemical powder in the house or within your office, it will choke you because it's powder, and again, you need to clean up. So that's why we now recommend CO2, in the house and in the offices, indoor, because it's effective on fire that is started by electrical equipment. As against using wet chemical powder, you can buy fire blankets and keep them in the maybe in the kitchen in case there is fire from the kitchen. Let me say this before I close. Please, if there is fire from your kitchen, maybe caused by fatty oil, so maybe you've overheated the oil and there is fire in your pots, please don't pour water. I repeat, please don't pour water. Just switch off. That's cut off the energy source. Switch off your gas if possible. If it's not possible, not a problem at all. Just find a big cover, a lid, the pot cover, and cover that pot or that frying pan or what have you. What you have done is called smothering. You cut off oxygen supply to that fire and the fire will go off. There are 3 methods to extinguish a fire. We have what we call the cooling, the smothering, and the starvation. You cool by pouring water. You smother by cutting off oxygen. You starve by removing the foil. Remember when I started this, I said there's 3 sides of the triangle. Or 3 sides of we call it fire triangle. The oxygen, the foil, and the heat. Because we have the 3 sides of the triangle, basically we also extinguish fire by three methods. We cool to bring down the temperature of the heat. We smother to cut off oxygen, and we starve the foil. And either of these 3 methods, the fire will go off. Remember, next slide, please. Pass method. Is that pass method? No. Listen. Okay. Go to pass. Yeah. No. Just no. Yeah. Somebody said no. You've passed that. Okay. Let me just say this. To use a fire extinguisher, you need. So first, guys, we use a method called the pass method. PASS. This is it. Just hold on. No. Yeah. You pull the pin. You aim at the base of the fire. You squeeze the handle, and you can sweep from side to side. You can watch that video online. Just type pass method of extinguishing fire, or just type pass method for fire. I think you should see some videos that will show you exactly how this is done. Please, this is very important. Thank you. I will need to stop because I'm 15 minutes over time. I'm sorry. But I need to stop. Somebody said the brain is filled up. Mr. Odejai, are you sure? Okay, question. I can see, please, do they take debauch in Nigeria, and how much or any equivalent? Yeah, debauch is very important. It's key. Exchange rates has made this skyrocket. So debauch now, because of the exchange rates, you can be looking at maybe 300 or thereabouts. But usually it should be maybe 250. So you can always do that here in Lagos. But ensure that So anyway you want to register, just ask for their NEBOSH center number. Get that? NEBOSH center number. You can go online, nebosh.org.uk, to check if that center is actually registered. So don't let somebody swindle you or scam you. I won't recommend anything here, but if you want, you can ask maybe after the class. Then one-on-one, I can tell you where you can go to. Thank you, Mr. Sakibu. Okay. Equivalence, yes, we have a lot of equivalents. A lot of equivalents. So we can talk about that maybe privately. Thank you. Questions? Questions, so I can go and have my lunch, eh?
Hello, sir.
Yeah, Mr. James. Is that Mr. James?
Yes,
No.
good evening.
Good evening, sir.
Thank you for the class. I enjoyed it also. Okay, the quick question I want to ask here. This fire extinguisher, when it's being serviced, how can one verify that this thing was actually done and not something that the vendor will just take away and bring back that it's been done, it's been serviced?
Okay.
I've been thinking about that
a
for a long
very
time.
quick answer. Not a problem at all. So at times, what we do is that okay. So for this is what I'll do them separately. For DCP, the dry chemical powder. If you pick that dry chemical powder, turn it upside down. If the chemical flows like water, if you have a feeling like something is flowing in that cylinder, and that means you've got this chemical there, and the chemical is not cake. All right.
Okay.
But if you turn it upside down and it drops, it falls like sand, then that means that chemical needs to even be changed. That's sodium bicarbonate. So most times, what those vendors do, anyway, I'm not looking at a vendor now. I'm a consultant. Okay. So most times, what those vendors do is that they don't change the chemical. They just, in fact, for the DCP, it has a gauge. If the gauge is even if the spindle on the gauge is even on green, they don't do anything to it. They just clean the body of the cylinder and collect your 2,000 or 2,500 that they have serviced that fire extinguisher. They just change the sticker. Okay. And the truth matter is, if there is fire, it will work. That's the truth. But for CO2, you cannot CO2 by weight. It has to be heavy. The CO2 has to be heavy. CO2, you can even test CO2 to be sure that something is coming out. And they don't just go there to put maybe oxygen as against CO2. But for DCP, all you need to see is it heavy enough? On the gauge, is that spindle, that yellow spindle, is it on green, showing that it is correctly pressurized? If it's falling to the left-hand side, that means the pressure has dropped, as it has been released. If it falls to the right-hand side, that's overcharge. It's written on it. So you see recharge. I don't know what they wrote on green again. Then there's overcharge. Yes. Overcharge. Overcharge is to the right-hand side. Recharge is to the left-hand side. And there's that green at the middle parts, where that your yellow spindle should just fall. Yeah. But sincerely, the only way you can know, or if you want to make sure that that guy actually serves your SQL, is for you to is for you to use it for training. So at times, what I do with my team is to say, so when it's almost due for us to service the extinguisher, I'll say, well, we have a fire extinguisher training. We may not even light up the fire, but I'll make sure that we use some of the extinguishers to demonstrate. Because what's the point? You are going to pay for that, yet your team have not even used an extinguisher before in their life. You've only shown them the theory. Extinguisher, this is how they use it. No. So when it is towards the time for you to recharge your extinguisher, you can just pick 1, 2, or 3 and have a session with your team, and they demonstrate. Let them waste it. It's fine. They can discharge that into a drainage. Then maybe when there is rainfall, then just move that off, and that's fine. You get.
Can we take the questions for your next?
Yes.
Can we take questions in your next class? Any questions in your next class?
Okay. Okay. Mr. Lawa, so maybe they can send me an email. Maybe you can send me an email.
Hello, sir.
Yes.
Yes. Sorry. Let me.
My time is up.
Yeah. Oh, okay. Because I want to suggest that probably you do a rerun. The slides are too lengthy, and honestly, you just rush it over.
Actually,
Yes,
this
they are
particular class should not be something that there should be a part 1 and part 2. Honestly,
honestly,
so much information, and then we are rushing it through it.
Honestly.
All right, so we'll schedule a class for that.
I concur.
Okay. Thank you.
Yes, sir.
Okay, thank you.
So maybe you schedule another class.
I will also suggest that you leave your contact, maybe email address, so that if you have questions, you can send to you.
So you can contact Baraka. She can.
Okay.
But I'll drop it on the group chat.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you so much. Thanks for the patience.
Thank you very much. Loaded and filled with information.
The lengthy class.
I'm sorry.
I
just hope you are going away with some information, right?
A lot.
For sure.
You did well, a lot. Just that the time constraint. Yeah,
honestly.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you. Enjoy your evening. Go and have your lunch.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Yeah.